Successful Minds with Patricia Baronowski-Schneider, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant people on the planet. Hear their stories and get the most important business lessons they have learned on their road to success and get exclusive advice on how to implement their success into your life and business. Successful Minds with Patricia Baronowski-Schneider is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board and your host, Patricia Baronowski-Schneider.
Hey, are you looking to scale your business from 5 figures to 6 figures or 6 figures to 7 figures? If you are, I have the perfect thing for you. What I want you to do today is I want you to go download a book. This book is going to take you through my 3-pillar system. It's 100% free. All you have to do is go to growfast.cash. I say again, go to growfast.cash and you're going to be able to download my free international best-selling book, which is called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. You can take that book. It's going to help you scale your business to the next level. Again, go download it. Be good, be brief, be gone. Growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome back to Successful Minds. I'm your host, Patty Baronowski-Schneider. Today I'm joined by Hsiao, founder and CEO of Revenue Growth Advisors. So welcome, Hsiao. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Patricia. Thanks so much for the introduction. So, as you said, my company is Revenue Growth Advisors. I officially launched my business about, 372 days ago. So just past my 1 year,
Happy birthday.
Past my 1 year business birthday, anniversary, whatever you want to call it. My company is focused on supporting product-based businesses. So if you make something, if you sell something, if you invented something, we help you with getting your business off the ground or making it more profitable, growing your revenue. And I really launched this business, like I said, about a year ago, after quite honestly getting laid off twice in less than 5 years from big corporate businesses, big corporate entities. And it was kind of this realization that, that there's no security and there's no safety, in big corporate. Just like there is, quite honestly, in entrepreneurship. So if that's the case, then you know what? I'm gonna build something the way I want it. I'm gonna do something the way I want to do it. For clients and businesses that really need support. So that was kind of really like the impetus for me getting started.
Very nice, and I think that's awesome. Where companies, I always tell people, stay in your lane. You do what you do best. You have a company, you know what's involved in it, do that. And let me do what I do. So for you, it's helping them grow because you don't have time to run a company and deal with everything in between. So they need people. No one ever wants to admit it, but they need people to help them along the way. So that's actually really cool that you're doing.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I think that there's so many times that, like you said, like people, let's just say, you started a business that sells brownies, and you make the best brownies that anyone's ever tasted. And like, you are an absolute specialist and and you are like the absolute pro as far as making brownies, but maybe you're not as so much as far as like how to find the most profit. Or maybe you're not in terms of like analyzing your cost of goods, or maybe you're not in terms of like your social media. Like all of these are things that are really important for your business, but you probably need some outside help with it. And I think that that's really important as business owners, as entrepreneurs, is for us to recognize the fact that we can't do everything. Number one, you don't have the expertise, but number two, also it'll make you crazy because you're like spinning your wheels trying to do everything. So, being able to recognize that and being able to, take the step of bringing someone into your fold, so to speak, whether it be a new hire, whether it be a consultant, whatever it might be, is just, it's just really like a great sign in terms of like your commitment to your business, in a way that goes beyond just like, let me just work, another 18-hour day again,
And I do marketing, so I can totally relate because we have companies that'll say, for example, let's just use Coca-Cola as an example. I make Coca-Cola, it's great and everybody should want to buy it. that you don't understand how the world functions. You're one of many. What makes you stand out? So you need somebody in that specialty who can think outside the box. What makes you different? What makes you better? How can I position? So same with the revenue. You have people, you could have the greatest company in the whole wide world, but why would investors care? You know how to put that message out there. So people need to pay attention.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think that, like you're saying, whether it be marketing, whether it be profitability, whether it be, growing into new sales channels or going up to new customers, so many times, when you're in a team, it could be you have a team of thousands, it could be a team that you're a team of one, like you're a solopreneur. But, it comes to a place where the people that are kind of in the room, so to speak, they only come from one perspective, and they kind of start to get blinders a little bit in terms of where the opportunities are, and we're doing it this way for so long, and so being able to kind of bring some fresh new perspective in and bringing like unbiased perspective, because that's the other thing, is that the people in the room, whether it's the people meaning like your partner, your business partner, or someone that works on your group, or even like your spouse, like they all come from a place of like a bias. Like they want the best for you, but they think that they know what the best is for you, but maybe they don't because it's coming from a place of, I don't know, secretly they don't want you to succeed because they want you to give up and go and get a real job. Yeah. Or maybe it's like, gosh, if we've been spending so much money, we don't want to spend any more money. So that's their perspective. So I think that, like you said, like, whether it's marketing, whether it's, whatever aspect it is, being able to kind of bring some, kind of like fresh eyes and fresh perspective.
An outside view.
It's so beneficial.
Yeah, I agree. So now tell us, what are some of the core services that Web Growth Advisors offer, and how do they help businesses achieve their growth objectives?
Yeah, so like I said, we really help product-based businesses to increase their revenue and increase their profits. So, for example, a lot of times businesses will say that, we just need to like grow, we need to grow our sales and everything will be fine. But the reality is that low sales and revenue, whichever way you want to say it, being below what you want, being below expectations is not really the cause, it's a symptom. So the reason that your sales are not increasing, the reason that your profitability is not increasing is not that, like I said, that is the result of strategies and implementation that are not working. So as an example, there's three key kind of spaces in terms of how we help our clients. The first are people that are maybe they haven't launched their product yet, or they launched it, but they're really struggling. The manufacturing is not working. Maybe they're the same prices from their manufacturing that they had 5 years ago. Okay, and so we help with domestic and overseas sourcing and manufacturing. Then we have people that they're kind of the second space are usually people that maybe their top line sales are growing, but their bottom line's not. So, their sales, their revenue has continued to grow and they've been happy with that, but they don't understand, like, why am I not making any more money? Like, why am I still not paying myself? Or why am I not paying myself as much as I think I deserve? Or why can't I hire any more people because I don't have any more money? Mm-hmm. So in that case, usually we find out that there's a problem in terms of all the different elements of profitability. So maybe their cost of goods sold, so their COGS, the raw materials of what they're working with. Maybe that's not in balance. Maybe they haven't really looked at it in years, and so they're still paying the same prices, or maybe the prices went up and they still haven't kind of really gotten their arms around it. Mm-hmm. So being able to really affect the profitability, the fixed cost, the cost of goods, all of that is really, it's again essential in terms of being able to get to the bottom line in terms of increased net profit. Mm-hmm. And then the third space are people that are have usually had a certain level of success. So maybe it's a direct-to-consumer brand, or maybe it's a retailer maybe it's like it's a brand, or it's a manufacturer that has had a certain, so for smaller retail, like a smaller chain, or your small hospitality, that kind of thing. And in that case, we're going to help them go, what I like to say, go to big retail. So just like the phrase go to market, they go to big retail. So now it's time they want to start working with Walmart, Target, Kroger's, Whole Foods, Macy's, Nordstrom, Amazon, whomever it might be. And that's a completely different animal. To work on your own, to have your own direct-to-consumer brand, or you're selling, to smaller retailers, it's very, very different than when you start working with, multi-billion-dollar retailers that have multiple distribution centers, and they have literally like what's called a routing guide, but it's like it's a manual of how to ship to them, and it's, and it's 200 pages thick, and you need to know every single thing that's in there before you even start shipping to them. So we help with that. So we help you to identify, who we think are the best targets in terms of who, to focus on as far as wholesale selling, and then also work with them in terms of understanding the process, all the financials. It can be very expensive, it can be very involved, and so we make it happen, but then we also make it happen in a profitable way. So those are really kind of the three primary focuses for us.
That's awesome, and it's stuff that I'm sure most people don't really understand the intricacies of what's involved in all that. Because if I had a product or business and I know how to do all that, I wouldn't understand the manual and how to. I wouldn't That's where I guess it helps to have someone from the outside who has that experience to come in and guide me.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, my background is I was with big corporate retail for over 25 years. So, multi-billion-dollar retailers, names that everyone knows, or that, most people know. And I was in a variety of capacities. And so I come from a place of, I know the questions that big retail is going to ask when you're sitting across the table from them. I know what they're not going to tell you, meaning they're just going to assume that you know it, and if you don't know it, then you're going to get, your invoices deducted. I know what they're not going to tell you, but in 6 months they're going to ask you for, from a financial standpoint. I know all of those things, and so at least it's one of those things of, if you know going in, okay, gosh, they're going to ask me for, a 5% give back every 6 months, or at least you know that, and you can plan for that, you can be prepared for that. It's when we don't know what we don't know that's when we get into a place of feeling like, we don't have control of the situation, or we get ourselves in a place of, you're not prepared financially for this. So yeah, coming from that background, I really feel, I'm very, informed and really a good partner for my clients in terms of understanding the full process and being prepared for it.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned a little bit about, your background. So how did your previous experiences shape your approach to business growth and strategy at Red Growth Advisors?
So I would say that, one of the most important things is that, coming from that kind of a background, and even though people think it's very, very glamorous to be a buyer, or to be to lead a team of buyers, and, you're going to like fashion shows, and you're going to, and it's all about just picking pretty products, all that kind of thing. And yes, there is a little bit of that, but the truly successful merchants and retail businesses and retail leaders, they're people that really start from a place of data, understanding the data and the analytics and the history of a business, and letting that lead the conversation. A lot of times, especially I think when people are really deep in their business, they built something, it's their blood, sweat, and tears, and they think that they know every single thing about it. And so they might say, like, we're only going to buy red shirts this year because, red shirts were took off like crazy last year. And we tried yellow shirts 5 years ago and they just didn't work. And that might be true, but when you really get in and you look at the numbers of like, well, why didn't the yellow shirts work? Well, the yellow shirts didn't work because, it didn't get on the website until middle of August. So no one's really buying yellow shirts by the, So then you start to see like, oh, wow, let's get into that a little bit deeper. Let's understand like why something didn't sell. Well, let's understand why something sold, but, we didn't make any money off of it. So, that's kind of the way, for like I was raised in terms of like a business. Is you start with the data. So literally, we would sit there and make, recap the business and understand all of the kind of the numbers and the facts behind the business. And then from there, you made decisions about what you bought, what you would bring in again, or maybe we don't put it in stores, we only do it online, or whatever it might be. So it's the same thing with my business. Is that with my business and when I work with my clients, they'll come to me a lot of times and they'll say, well, we know that this and this and this are working. It's just this that's not working. So we need to fix this. And I would say, okay, well, would you share all the data of this and this that are working? And let's understand that. And then we look at it and I say, well, yes, you sold it, but do you notice that you sold it at a negative margin? Meaning they lost money on it. And they say, oh, okay, well, that's not good. And I say, and this thing that you say didn't sell, do you understand it didn't sell because, we have that conversation. So it's really, I think that it comes from a place of, you have your gut feeling of like why something's working or not working in your business. And or you have your own personal preference, like I prefer to wear red, I don't want to wear yellow, so I might only buy red shirts, for my business. But you want to try and put the emotion and the personal opinion or preference aside, and that's where the data, the analytics, the numbers behind the business, that's when it comes in, and that's when it's also really a lot easier to make unemotional decisions about things. And I think that really comes from my background.
And they definitely need that outside because they're too close to it inside. No one ever wants to see anything wrong with what they're doing.
Right.
But you need that outside person to say, nothing wrong with it, but.
Right, exactly. And I'm sure for you as well, like in the marketing space, it's really easy, I think, again, for people to get really emotional about marketing. Whether you really love it or this thing you really hate, or, our customer doesn't like that. But to really, it's the same thing with marketing. There's analytics and data that are there that, it really helps to allow you to make decisions that are not led by your emotions.
Yeah. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
And I guess tell us, what are some of the common challenges businesses face in scaling their operations, and how do you help them overcome the obstacles?
I would say that probably one of the biggest things for people that are trying to scale, people that are trying to grow their business, is this idea of they feel like they need to do everything and they need to be involved in everything. And that quite honestly comes from a place of ego. And what I mean by that is this idea that you feel like no one can do it as well as you can. And when you're an entrepreneur, or if you're an inventor, or you're the CEO or the owner of your company, it's totally easy to get to that place because, the buck stops with you. Like, you're the one that started it, and you're the one that's going to, is ultimately the final stop. But I think coming to a place where you can, like, let a little bit of your ego go and being able to welcome, be hungry for and then welcoming feedback and input and involvement from people outside of yourself, I think is a really important place to come to then get to a place of growth. And the growth, it's like if you grow as an individual, you grow as an entrepreneur, but you also grow, then it also impacts and grows your business. It grows your top line, it grows your bottom line by welcoming people into the conversation. So, and that it can be hard. I mean, you and I both know, Patricia, it's like, when you have a small business, it's, every dime counts. You're always, what you want to invest in your business, but you want to do it in a way that makes sense. You have to be smart about it. So, everyone has to figure out what that looks like. Some people, it means that they hire someone. Sometimes it means you have a consultant. It's 1099. Sometimes it means, like a virtual assistant. Like sometimes it means consultants, or like a consulting practice. But I think that the more that they can kind of be willing to open up their mind and open up kind of like open up their circle and be willing to invest a little bit of money in it, the faster that they will see growth and the faster that they'll see improvement in terms of, their business strategies.
I agree 100%. It's hard to, like I know even in my situation, when I had first started, I had a team, but I always felt that they weren't doing it as good as I could.
Right.
So now you're involved in every single thing, but it's like, okay, take a step back and teach them how to do it as good as you.
Right.
Because it's exhausting. It's
right.
And then what I like now is just having people of different ages and different backgrounds, because now you're getting, because you get stale if you're doing the same thing all the time. And you want to, other people are into different things and they're following different things. So hearing from a wide variety of perspectives on how things could or should be done. It kind of opens up to like unique ideas, which I think is really, really amazing. So
That's
you have to just
true.
let go.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, I'll tell you, like when I was with, so one of the big retailers I was with for many, many years, I got to a certain level and I had a pretty large team. And I made this decision that I was going to do it. I started it out as quarterly and then I changed it to monthly, where I had a brainstorm session with all of the assistants on my team. And depending upon the size, and at different points over the years, sometimes it was 5 people around the table. Sometimes it was 20 people around the table. Like I got to have, one point I had 75, 80 people on my team. And so it was the assistants. It was, people in many cases right out of college. If I had an intern for the summer, that person came. And most of them were in the neighborhood of, let's call it like 20 to 28 years old. And I did it for 2 reasons. One was I thought it was important that they had FaceTime with me. I thought it was important that they understood how to speak, do the business speak and engage people around the table. But the other reason was, like you were saying, Patricia, honestly, from a selfish standpoint, I learned so much from them. Things like, oh, we went to such and such, museum exhibit last weekend, and I'm like, oh my God, that sounds so cool.
Yeah.
Or oh, did you see this new brand? Did you see this new brand on social, or did you see this new brand that I saw a commercial? And yeah, I haven't heard of that one yet. And so I learned so much from them. Like they were like taking notes. I was taking notes,
Exactly.
And so yeah, I agree with you. Like it's you want to be open to, and again, like leaving your ego at the door. You want to be open to different perspectives in terms of like you have more experience in deep marketing than I do, and I respect and I'm interested in your point of view. But then it's also like I'm curious by the 23-year-old that is out and about and heck a lot more than I am right now. So I think it's really it's like there's different how do you want to say it? There's kind of like different like paths in terms of getting that like feedback and that insight and information.
Yeah, I mean, that like the social media is a perfect example because depending on who your client is, if your goal is to get your face in front of the world, well, where are people at these ages? Where are you looking? Where are you going? Like, same with, TikTok and Instagram and Snapchat and all this. I'm learning who people are following, what they're looking for. Like, we had a video for a client one time, really educational, was really good. Nobody cared. We put this background music on and it became a trending video. And then it gets a little tricky. Quality over quantity. I mean, people, but at least it helped us know, okay, so maybe we need to incorporate, but again, I wouldn't have known that if I didn't hear these other people, what was trending, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, you have to incorporate it all.
Yeah, it's very true. It's very true. Well, there's several, and that I'm sure that you follow as well. Several people, especially like in social media and marketing, that I follow, like that are real experts in this. And one of them, he says that, if you're trying different things, like first of all, of course, he's saying like, you should be posting every single day, which is, for me at least, I can't get there. I think I'm around like 1 to 2 times a week at this point. But he said like, if you're posting every day as you should be, then, and if you have a post and, and you're like, I think this is going to take off, and it doesn't, then you need to try and figure out why. Again, it goes back to the analytics. It goes back to the data. So it's not just like, oh, I don't know, maybe if I'd worn a blue shirt.
Yeah.
It's not that. Was it the time you posted? Was it like in your case, like the content was great, but it wasn't engaging enough. You needed some sound behind it. Was it that? Was it like, I didn't tag Patricia, so that's why I just, but like whatever it might be. But I think it's interesting, like that there's so many different elements to anything of if something works or doesn't work, of really understanding why. Because if you don't understand the why, then by the way, you can't duplicate it.
Yeah.
So, like in your case, you figured out that your content was good, but it was the execution on it. So now going forward, like what, you gotta always have a sound behind it or whatever it might be. So I think it's just, again, it's that idea of being able to like duplicate your successes that is really important for you to understand, like that's why you need to like analyze everything.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, can you discuss a particularly successful project or case study where the Rev Growth Advisors made a significant impact on a client's business?
So, I would say one that comes to mind is just honestly one of our current clients. They are a wholesale food manufacturer, and they reached out to us because they were at a place, which I kind of referred to it a little bit earlier. They were at a place where they had a certain level of success in terms of their own website, in terms of events and catering and different things, but they really wanted to get into wholesale, into groceries. And so they came to us really knowing that they didn't know what they didn't know. So how did they figure out how to price? How did they figure out how to analyze all their costing? So, analyze all of their raw materials, their fixed costs, analyzing, all of that and coming up with a pricing strategy. And also looking at it as, a real thoughtful and strategic perspective in terms of who they should go after in terms of for the wholesale grocers. So we are in the process of analyzing all of that for them and making recommendations. And the really nice thing is that we've already identified, and we're not even finished with this project yet with them, but we've already identified opportunities for them in terms of pricing changes, in terms of, renegotiating some of the costs of their goods, their raw materials. Also have about 20 wholesale recommendations for them. And they've already gone after one in particular, and they shipped last week, and they nearly sold out in the first weekend. Mm-hmm. So it's nice it's really exciting to work with someone who has an incredible product, which they do. But then, kind of really looking at it as if the sky is the limit, in terms, for wholesale partners and profitability and making money. So that's really exciting.
That's nice. I mean, it's funny with the pricing because, again, you need someone on the outside who could look at the big picture. Because I know somebody who has a business and, they wanted to raise their price like $5 a week or something. It was not much. And they didn't want to do it because they were afraid people leave. And it's like, that's like less than a Starbucks coffee, isn't it? It's like, yeah. I don't think, and if you look at comparing to other people, that's nothing, but they need somebody to kind of say, stay in your lane, do what you do, and let me show you what everybody else, where they're at, where you should be at, and then help them get there. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, one of the things that we found with this particular client, which it sounds so basic, but it's just, again, when you're deep in your business, sometimes it's hard to identify this, was they were saying to us, we don't really have any wiggle room as far as our pricing is concerned. We've looked at, this competitor and that competitor, and, they're at our price, and they're actually $1 cheaper than us. But then we actually started getting into it and looking at the competition, and then, let's call it 10 people that we looked at, 10 brands that we looked at. And what we found was their product was smaller than my client. So instead of, if she was selling, a 3-ounce, it's cookies. So she's selling a 3.5 ounce cookie, and she was comparing herself to this client, this customer, or this brand, but that's a 2 ounce. Another one was a 1 ounce. So of course they're cheaper than you. Of course they're a lower price than you. But then it's taking that kind of knowledge and saying, okay, well, it's not that we have to do the same thing that the other brand is doing, but we need to understand that. And by the way, we need to communicate it to the customer. Because if all you're doing is looking at something online or looking at something sitting on the grocery shelf, and one is $10 and one is $8, well, I'm going to put an $8 one. But if you explain it to her of why it's a higher price, or make it really clear, like, oh, it's a nice cookie or whatever it might be, then that's understandable, and then you can make informed decisions. But again, I think sometimes we want to get to the answer very quickly, and so it's easy to just take like a snapshot view of it and just like a snap decision. And like you say, in the case of your friend or your colleague, is that sometimes we think like our customer expects to get a certain price. Reality is, like, again, like you said, like, is $5 going to be a make or break of whether or not this person's going to continue to buy from it? I mean, of course, it depends on what the product is. Like, if it's a car for $5, well, obviously that's not. But maybe But I think it's, again, you need to really come from a place of like being fully informed, and then and fully informed and like really deep analyzation, and then you can make a good decision.
Looking to grow your business beyond 5 figures, 6 figures, 7 figures plus, what I want you to do is go download this book. The title is called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. It will help you grow your business past 5, 6, and 7 figure. Go download the book today, growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash, and download the book for absolutely free.
And I agree, like you say, you go to the store and paper towel or whatever, 75% more. Now that makes sense. So I agree. Just explain it, and I can the cheaper one when you look at it now. It's like, it's way smaller. So I'm getting 75% more for only 75 cents. I get it.
yeah, exactly.
Now we talked a little bit about this a minute ago, but like, how do you stay updated with the latest trends and developments in business growth and strategy, and how do you incorporate these into your work?
So we talked about this a few minutes ago. Definitely, like I am a huge proponent of connecting and networking with people. I know you're the same way, Patricia. I'm a member of several different communities that serve different purposes. My personality is, if I'm standing next to someone like in the grocery line for more than a couple minutes, I probably end up talking to them anyway. So you just never know who you're going to meet, and you never know who you might be able to help. There was someone I met briefly a couple weeks ago, and she started talking to me about her business, and I remembered a grant that I had read about, and I said, "Have you looked into this grant?" And she said, "No." And I said, "Well, you should look into this grant." And she applied for the grant, and I don't know if she's gotten it yet or not, but I think that idea of connecting and networking and being like open to having like those kind of interactions with people, not only can it help you in terms of like, oh, I met you and you could introduce me to someone else that could help me with my business, or I could do the same for you, but it's also like you and I start talking, you're a marketing expert, you're a marketing guru, and before I know it, you gave me some little nugget of something that I was like, oh my God, I really want to look into that. Or, you tell me about some new thing I haven't heard about yet. So that's a big part of it. I think it's just that it sounds like kind of hokey, but it's like being open to the universe and who it brings to you, because you don't ever know where that could take in terms of, again, something for your business, or even just like inspiring you in some way, so that's a big part of it. As kind of like a parallel to that, like I'm really involved. I go to a lot of events. I do a lot of virtual events. I make it a part of my business strategy and my business week, because, I consider it to be an investment to myself, an investment to my business. And so, that's definitely, I highly recommend that to people. And I like to say, like, if you're doing anything, like as far as business, or you have a side hustle or whatever it might be, or quite honestly, just you work for XYZ company, is like investing in yourself and like finding a network of people that you enjoy being with and you're aligned and what your path is just, I think, just so important, and it's a very good investment of time for yourself.
I agree. Like, even with the podcast, like I said, I talk to people around the world and always connecting people. But even the people that I have on the show, there's been a lot of people in marketing. And I have some people say, why would you put them on the show? They're competition. They're probably doing stuff I didn't do. Maybe I'm doing something they didn't do. Or maybe they have, like I said, some people do marketing for technology or healthcare. Maybe they know what I do, and there's a client that came on board that called them that they don't accommodate. They can call. Right. But either way, I'm like, first of all, there's enough business out there for the whole world. So if they, but I just like, same as you, networking, talking to people, all different, backgrounds, niches, countries, whatever. Yeah. You learn a lot. And I think, it's one thing I always said, that having, in a business with people from around the world, you learn different methods of doing things, just because some people get set in their ways that this is how it's done and that's it. But maybe if you're selling something to Europe or to Asia or whatever, maybe that's not how they do it there. So having someone on your team from there to help educate you on that, now you learn something new. You're helping branch out to another country. I mean, there's just so much involved out there that, I think talking to so many different people, I think it's huge. I love it. I'm the same as you with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you a quick anecdote, or however you want to say it, but story. But I launched my business, and 2 weeks later, and I joined the membership community, a really great, it's a female founders, female business owners. It's called Entrepreneurial. If you haven't heard of it, you can definitely look it up. I highly recommend it. If anyone's interested, reach out to me. But I launched the business. I joined this community the same week. 2 weeks after I launched, I was on a networking, like a round robin break, thing. And there was a woman on there, and we both were like, oh, I think maybe like something similar, like paths. Turns out, oh, by the way, we actually knew someone, like we both knew very well in common. Okay. And so she's like, oh, why don't we get on a separate networking call? I'm like, okay, great. Point is, after about 5 or 10 minutes, we realized that yes, we come from the same big corporate retail background, but we kind of took different. She's very, very deep in the finance side, but I'm very, very deep in the product side of it. And she's made a business out of it. Okay. And so she said to me, you know what? I have this client. I work with them on XYZ, but they need help on this other thing. And she's like, I could probably figure it out, but it's not my specialty. I think you should talk to them. So I did. And that was our first client. And like, I don't know, like less than a week after she said that to me, we had this client signed and we started working with them. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, that's a very good example. Like you said, like on paper and from the outside looking in, you might feel like, well, you both are in retail and you both do, and she's your competition and you're her competition. Well, yes, but she does what she does so well and I do what I do so well. And she was so gracious and like connecting us. And so that wouldn't have happened if not for the fact that we both had like an open mind to, trying to support each other, but also to saying like, I do what I do very well, but I don't do everything well. So in that case, I want to refer my client to someone else,
Right. Yeah. I mean, I actually partnered with a woman from Europe. We do a digital marketing newsletter together now because again, you might have somebody who's into this certain section of marketing that maybe needs IR, PR that I could also do. And maybe I have an IR, PR person, but I don't have the time to focus on that. But either way, it's together. We're learning from each other. We're sharing our expertise on the newsletter. It's, people, they get to, it was a tricky part. Like even with, I always say I do IR, PR marketing, not because I have nothing else better to do, but one, I came from that background, but I found that if you were with a company and they had an internal IR or external IR, PR marketing team different, nobody was sharing what they knew because no one wanted you to steal the work. Yeah. So everybody's pitching 3 different stories, and it was like, we all have the same goal in mind. We want the company to succeed.
Right.
Same with here. I mean, whatever business you're doing, you want whoever you're working for to succeed. It's not about being a control freak.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that like, you asked me a little bit earlier about, like advice, and I talk a lot about analytics and really understanding your data and what the numbers tell you and what the numbers lead you. The other thing is again, coming from these big corporate retailers, is you always put the customer first. The customer needs to be at the center of every single one of your decisions. So, when you have a business or you have some sort of within your business, and you're making decisions because it's the easiest thing for you or because it's the path of least resistance, like we just don't have the time to dedicate to do this and that kind of thing, you're not putting the customer first. And so maybe it's not a today thing, but over the long range, certainly your business is going to suffer because your customer she feels it, she or he feels it. They feel like they're not the center of the decision, And so, being in the place where everything you do, you want your customer to feel like you understand them better than any other business or any other. If you have a restaurant, they want to feel like this is the restaurant where I feel at home. This is the restaurant where I feel like they get me and they know what I want before I even know it. Mm-hmm. And so that idea again of like always the customer at the center I think is just so essential in terms of business success.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, now what advice would you give to entrepreneurs and business leaders who are looking to scale their business but are unsure where to start?
I hate to keep repeating myself, but it's one of those things. If you repeat it, it's because it's so important. Is again, like when you're trying to scale your business, or if you have something you're struggling with, is having the sense, quite honestly, to go beyond your bubble. Because if you're staying within, like if you're just staying in your office and you're trying to figure it all out, and you're not really talking to anyone new, and you're not out there on the street, or if you have a business that has a storefront, you're not physically out in your store or going to your other store locations or whatever it might be, then you're going to be very limited in terms of the input that you have. And you're also going to be very limited in terms of like creative and new approaches and ideas. So I think, like you said, like it's like advice for people that are trying to improve their business or grow their business is, it's the adage of like, work on your business, not in your business. Is working on your business involves getting out of your seat, your proverbial seat, and getting out there and interacting with other people. It's getting outside input, whether it's something that you just get for free, meaning like you're networking, you're connecting, you're watching a virtual event, whatever it might be. But it also could be something you pay for. Meaning you're getting consulting service or fractional service, you have a new hire. So I think that that's what it is. It's like nothing is ever gonna get better. Nothing's ever gonna change if you don't have the approach and the perspective that you're open to new ideas. So, I think that's a big, really important perspective, or a really important kind of thing to kind of understand.
Yeah, no, I agree. Now, Paul's looking ahead. What are your future goals for Rev Growth Advisors, and how do you plan to continue driving growth and success for your clients?
Well, one of the things that we've come to is I like to say that we're product agnostic. And so what I mean by that is, we've worked with clients that are everything from, we mentioned it a little bit earlier in our conversation, we worked with wholesale food, with single location boutique, to, a $100 million CPG manufacturer, to, children's toys, so pretty much anything you could ever imagine. And it really comes from my background, whether I was a buyer or a chief merchant or product development. I did everything from, truly, Patricia, like from kids' clothes to bras to dining tables to like almost everything in between. So my point in all that is just like, for us, I find it just so exciting to learn about a new product. So, when we first started getting involved in this wholesale food and had some clients in that space, that was really exciting and new because I didn't have much of a perspective on that. I love learning about new businesses and learning about new products. And I would say it's just, for us to just continue to feel like we're making an impact in helping businesses. I say that we focus on small businesses, but as you and I both know, small business is not just like the person that's operating out of their garage, and that's great. There's a lot of people that are doing that and they're doing it really well. But small business, as quantified by our federal government, is $50 million. Well, $50 million is a lot of business, and oh, by the way, I think the number is something like 85% of named businesses in the U.S. are small businesses. So there's a lot of people out there that that could really benefit from support in terms of growth and profitability. And so for us, it's just really feeling like we're continuing to connect with those people that are our clients or even potential clients, people that could use our support. And like I said, like for me personally, I just love learning about something new.
Well, that's awesome.
Products and new things. Yeah.
I mean, you could tell, obviously, you have like great passion for this, and that shines through in just in you talking about it all. And, it's good that it's not just another job. It's, you enjoy doing this, and that shows in the work, which, is a great asset.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I absolutely. And, you and I chatted a little bit about this earlier, is that, most people, when they start their own business, they do it for a couple of reasons. One is, hopefully some version of financial security for themselves or for their family. Some of it comes from frustration. Maybe you got laid off. Maybe you had a big, something like that. Or again, like you make the best brownies and you decided to start making a business out of it. But a lot of it also comes from that idea of feeling like you have a little bit more control, control over the destiny of what your business is, control over, like I have a small child, like, so at 4:30, I decide I'm done for the day. I'm done for the day. I'm not having a boss that's like over my shoulder, like, well, you're supposed to work until 5 o'clock, and so having that kind of flexibility and having some control and whatever that means, or every day at 4:30 you go out running, whatever that might be. And so I think that's a really big factor when people think about or when they're considering like starting something is feeling like they can have a little bit more flexibility and control and kind of like lead their life the way they want to. And so I think it's a big step. It's a big step to decide to do something, but feeling like that is an aspect in terms of that control and autonomy is quite honestly like just a godsend.
Yeah, so many people that kind of fall into it. It wasn't something they planned. They just kind of fell in because of the layoff and things like that. And in hindsight, they're like, I'm just killing myself that I didn't do this sooner. So there is the flexibility and the security. And, I think most people, you have families and whatnot. It just makes life so much easier. Like I was talking to someone earlier, I've been doing the remote thing long before COVID, and I'm much more productive working from a home office than I ever was. I had a 3-hour round trip commute, everybody coming into the office, talking, going to lunch. Now you're on call from the minute you roll out of bed to the minute you go in bed. And then if you work outside, you come home, now it's like, I got to do laundry, I got to do this. Well, I'm not physically washing clothes by hands. It takes me 5 minutes to throw it in the machine, come back. That's that much stress that I don't have to do it later on.
Very true.
Yeah, it's a great thing if you can do it, and there's always some way to
Right. And I think that, but again, we both know, especially for someone who their business is product based. For someone that's a service based business like mine is, in theory, you can start with $0. Like, like it would be nice to have an office. It would be nice to have, some fancy new pens. It would be nice to have, all of those are nice to have. But really, like, you just start one day, You don't need like, initial investment. When someone has a product-based business, you have to have some sort of upfront money, right? You have to buy, I keep going back to the brownie thing. You got to have money to buy the flour. You got to have money to buy the packages. If you're making shirts, you got to figure out, I got to make the shirts in order to sell the shirts. Okay. So when it's a product-based business, it's a little bit more of a financial commitment. But the point is, like, you can start out small. There's a guy here in my town. He has an ice cream shop. He's lovely, and he's such an incredible addition to the community. My point is, he started out making ice cream in his kitchen and selling it. He would post it on Facebook on our private town Facebook group. And he'd be like, Saturday at 3, I'm selling the ice cream out of the garage. And everyone came about his ice cream. And now, I don't know, 2 or 3 years later, he has his own beautiful shop. He started out buying the milk from our grocery store, And of course now he buys it from the distributor and the whole thing. But the point is that you can start, even if it's a product-based business, you can start out small and see if it makes sense, validate it in terms of the customer and your community and the product is right, your pricing is right. And then if it takes off, then you can quit your job. You can, get a storefront. So I just think it's again, there's a little bit more involved in your product, but you can make it work. You really can, especially if you want to start it as a side hustle, especially if you want to start it just as an extra thing on the weekend,
Put in the effort.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything else you want to talk about that we didn't cover?
I don't think so.
Okay, so how can people get a hold of you or learn more about you?
So yeah, we would love to have conversations with any prospective clients, or just people that you want to network with me. I am on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way. Is my LinkedIn is Michelle Hatch, HATCH, and then my last name, my maiden name, And then my last name is Hsiao, Hsiao, so Michelle Hsiao. And then our website is Rev Growth. Our website is the Rev Growth Advisors.com. So TheRevGrowth Advisors.com.
Nice.
We would love to connect, and I'm happy to have a 30-minute conversation, just as a great connect and hear about people's business.
Very nice. Well, thanks again for being on the show. Again, that was Michelle Hsiao. So thanks for listening to Successful Minds with Patty B. Never miss an episode by subscribing. So thank you again.
Thanks, Patricia.
My pleasure.
Hey, we all want to scale our business. Hey, I have the answer for you today to help you do that. If you're looking to scale from 5, 6, even 7 figures and beyond, book called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. I'm going to give it to you for free. All you have to do is type in growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash, and you can download the book for absolutely free. I hope the book helps you this year. Take your business to the next level. Again, go grab the book, growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash. I wish you the best and grow, scale, and win.
Thank you for listening to Successful Minds with your host, Patricia Baronowski-Schneider. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we'll see you on the next episode.
There it is. Magnum. Holy moly.
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for!
Dear God. It's beautiful.